It was around 2 a.m. when the sound of the front door clicking shut pulled me from a restless half-sleep. I'd been tossing for hours, tangled in thoughts that refused to make sense, the silence in the house feeling heavier than usual. Then came her footsteps, slow, careful, deliberate, and the tightness in my chest deepened as I realized she was awake too. She appeared in the hallway, her face shadowed with frustration, and something else I couldn't quite name. The dim kitchen light stretched across her figure, revealing neatly packed bags by the doorway, a quiet decoration. "I got the attention I wanted," she said, her tone low, sharp, almost proud. I studied her calmly, no anger rising, no need for shouting. This moment didn't call for fury. It called for clarity, for boundaries I had already learned to hold firm within myself. My eyes drifted to the bags, and I gave a single slow nod. That was all it took. The decision had been made long before she ever said the words. For a heartbeat, memories flickered. The quiet nights, the small sacrifices, the words we both swallowed. This wasn't about attention or even betrayal. It was about respect, recognition, and remembering your own worth. I didn't need explanations, apologies, or answers. I only needed to honor what I already knew. Some moments reveal who you truly are, not by what you say, but by what you choose not to. Tonight, the choice was simple. I wouldn't chase. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't break. Her expression shifted. Confusion flickered across her face as the weight of her own words began to register. The silence in the room was louder than any argument we'd ever had. She lingered at the doorway, shifting her weight as if waiting for me to explode, some dramatic scene that would validate her expectations. But I stayed still, letting the silence stretch, letting her actions speak for themselves. Words can cut deep, but silence, when it carries conviction, cuts deeper. She had expected confrontation, maybe tears, maybe collapse. But she was wrong. I stepped back slightly, my composure steady, my gaze unwavering. The bags didn't move. They didn't have to. They were more than belongings. They were boundaries, solid and undeniable, finally acknowledged. There was no anger left in me, only quiet certainty. I'd learned that true strength doesn't come from yelling. It comes from understanding your limits and standing by them. Her voice softened, a trace of uncertainty creeping in where pride used to sit. "You're okay with this?" she asked, her tone unsure now, like she wasn't ready for my calm. I didn't answer right away. My eyes moved over the room. The life we built, now condensed into this one moment. The realization dawned on her slowly. This wasn't about attention or winning. It was about respect, and that line had already been crossed. When I finally spoke, my words were steady and clear. "Your bags are by the door. The rest is up to you." Simple words, but they carried weight. The weight of a man who knew the value of his own self-respect. She froze, processing, maybe for the first time realizing that no apology or manipulation could undo what was already done. The air between us felt thick, but I felt calm, measured, final. She looked at me, really looked, and something in her eyes shifted. The arrogance was gone, replaced by uncertainty, by a flicker of regret she hadn't expected to feel. I didn't gloat. I didn't comfort. I simply stood there, letting silence do the talking. Some lessons don't come through words. They come through stillness, through the quiet recognition of consequence. She seemed on the verge of saying something, an apology, an excuse, maybe a plea, but the words never formed. Instead, she exhaled slowly, her eyes drifting from mine to the bag she had packed so carefully. The truth landed on her then. The attention she had sought, the game she played, had ended not in drama, but in quiet finality. I'd given her nothing to twist, nothing to push against, nothing to control. That was the power she never saw coming. Turning away, I walked toward the living room, each step lifting the weight from my shoulders. There was no satisfaction in her regret, only clarity. She had carved her space outside my life, and I had no desire to reclaim it. Balance, I realized, often returns in silence, in moments without noise or spectacle. By the time I sank into the chair, the house was still again. Her bags remained by the door, a silent reminder of choices made. consequences met, and boundaries finally respected. No shouting, no pleading, no lingering. Just the truth. Respect cannot be demanded. It must be freely given. And when it's not, it's reclaimed quietly. That night, the lesson was unmistakable. Dignity doesn't shout. Resilience doesn't rush. Both speak softly and never waver.